Welcome to Spooky TV. So earlier I was on Instagram and I read this meme which says, marry a man that wants to be a husband, not a man who just wants a wife. And immediately I thought this must have been written by a female, because like women to me desire marriage more than men. You know what I mean? Like I out of all of my homies or my friends or my associates, I've never had more than one associate that is like, oh, I want a wife, I can't wait to have a wife, and I need a wife to settle down. I can count the amount of time I've heard that on maybe one finger. You know what I mean? Women are more likely the ones who are going to be like, oh, I need a husband and whatnot. Granted, it's not women's fault. You know what I mean? Society constructed things like that. You know what I mean? From the early days, from the inception of time, females have been placed at a disadvantage. You know what I mean? When men are made to be the leaders and the driving force of the family. You know what I mean? The man is always given the freedom to choose who the partner is going to be, the lifelong partner, that person that he's going to build his family with, while the women are always cultured to wait until she is selected. And by putting that selection process on the man and putting women in the category where they are to prove themselves, you know, worthy of being selected, women have been at a huge disadvantage, you know, because women tend to feel like, hey, if I was not selected, you know, I'm not good enough. I've heard women even say before that, hey, nobody in my family is married, and because no one in my family is married, I will have to get married because I have to break this generation curse. Yes, you heard me right. Some women actually think that because persons in their families aren't married, their entire generation is cursed, and it is up to them to get married, to break that curse. You know what I mean? So women like those tend to say I do to the first person that pops a question. Even if they're dating this guy and this guy is a jackass and clearly just wants to marry to settle, and not because he wants to be a good husband. You know what I mean? Some females would gladly take that option rather than say no to that person and go without being married for a period of their lives. You know what I mean? I've seen women like take up guys with 3-4 baby moms. Clearly you should see from the inception that this guy is not someone that you want to build with. You know what I mean? Because he's displaying a level of disloyalty. You know what I mean? Being that he has been disloyal to upwards of 3-4 women before. So therefore you shouldn't want to say I do to this guy, but you do so. You do so not because you think that this man is going to be a good father to your kids or because he wants to be a family man. You did that because you feel like this is my one chance to get married and I cannot allow the ship to leave me behind. You know what I mean? And that's very unfortunate. So this mean that is saying that a man that wants to be a husband and not a man who just wants a wife. This is very contradicting, and that is why, I mean, recently I saw Jim Jones made a quote, and he said 2022 is the era of, you know, being stupid. You know what I mean? Because this meme embodies that. This is somebody that is clearly, this person has a phone and this person just feels like sending out some random information into the universe thinking that, oh, I'm so smart, but really he or she, but I think this is definitely a she, is really being a jackass. You know what I mean? Because you cannot, it's rare when you're gonna find a guy that truly wants to be a husband in today's society, when men have the unfair advantage of choosing who a wife is. You know what I mean? Women don't have that power to select who their husband will be. You know what I mean? Because they are not given that power to pop the question. And in the event that a woman does pop the question, you know, society frowns on it like, oh, you should wait, you should not be popping the question. The only way a woman can basically decide that she's going to marry a man that wants to be a husband is if that women are going to take the initiative and start proposing to guys on their own, guys who they feel like are good enough to be husband material. So you're dating a guy and you feel like this guy loves your kids and he treats you like a queen, then you're gonna, you know, embolden yourself, and then you're gonna pop the question. But aside from that, as long as women are there on the waiting list, 9 times out of 10 they're going to make the wrong choice, because they're just making that decision based on the availability of a man. You know what I mean? And of the fear of not being selected. They don't want to be in their late 30s, their 40s, worse 50s and 60s, and they're not spoken for. They have kids for Tom, Dick, and Harry, and they're not wives. You know what I mean? So they choose to pick any bum, any waste man that presents himself and says, hey, will you marry me? You know? So while it's okay for one to tweet that marry a man that wants to be a husband, not just a man who wants a wife, it sounds fancy to tweet that, but at the end of the day, that is not practical when you don't have the freedom to select a man that you want to marry. You know what I mean? The men are the ones who have the power to take the initiative and ask you to become their wives. You know what I mean? So you don't have the option to select. You may turn down a particular guy because you don't think that this man wants a wife. Huh. But you may not get a replacement. You may not get the one that you desire. And so many women are not prepared to take that risk because they don't want to die alone and single. I don't know if everybody is like this, but I tend to grapple and struggle with a lot of memes, you know what I mean? Because everybody that has a phone feels like they are an expert on something. And clearly this meme would work in a matriarchal society where the woman has the freedom to make the choice, you know what I mean? But in a patriarchal society where the male has the power to make the choice of who gets married or who gets shelved, you know what I mean? Like, it's impossible for a woman to make that choice of who wants to be a husband from who merely wants to get a wife. I'm out.